friend, I have a message today for you from your ancestors about your connection to them and the support that they are offering you for this next stage in your life. Okay. Guiding our reading, we have the Singer of Healing. You have been doing some very intensive, focused healing work on yourself probably for some time now to break patterns, behaviors, generational trauma, something that's been held deep within you, which has had a grip over your life for, probably the majority of your life, or at least for a very long time. Something that, you've seen this pattern repeat in your family. Something that, if you look back at your grandparents, their parents, your ancestors going however far back, you may have noticed that there's a certain pattern that, maybe somebody would identify as like a generational curse. Now, I want to reframe this, though, as a generational trauma as opposed to a generational curse, because when you heal this trauma, when you heal this energy, it actually becomes an incredibly powerful blessing in your life. Okay. Starting out, we have the Nine of Swords. Okay, the Nine of Swords is the waking up from a nightmare card. In your Rider-Waite-Smith, you would see an individual who, they woke up out of a nightmare, they've got all the swords hanging on the wall, whatever this thing that, had held you in its grip, that has held your, your ancestors in its grip, your family, has probably caused you immense pain, has probably caused you a lot of trouble and problems, right? Maybe your ancestors haven't themselves been able to successfully heal the thing, and you yourself have taken it upon yourself to finish the work, to do the healing necessary to break the pattern, to, break the cycle and move into something more powerful, more beautiful, more healthy, that allows you to connect in a meaningful way with life and the world around you, okay? So when we're looking at the, the queen here that happens to be in this, suit, she's got this blue rose that she's been tending to in this garden. This crow carries it off, right? Maybe you have some sort of a dream, some sort of a vision that you have been working on, and then you kind of felt like maybe it was snatched away, maybe like it was taken from you, or that you stalled out. But the reality of the matter is that like actually what's happening is that your ancestors have taken it and they said, okay, we see this thing that you want, we're going to help make it a reality, right? And so things have been happening behind the scenes, and maybe you haven't been able to see what's going on, but you get a sense still of like this healing and this connection within yourself, right? You get these interchanges that are happening, and you're wondering what's going on in the outside world to reflect that. Well, this is actually what's happening. Your ancestors, right, this crow energy, this, psychopomp, the communication between the living and the dead, has taken your dream, your manifestation, whatever it is, and taken it upon themselves to make this a reality. And this is kind of a reciprocal type of a thing, right? Because of the healing you've done for yourself, because of the healing you've done for your family lineage, the gratitude, the joy, the healing, the blessings that you bring to them, they want to return that to you, right? You are their family, and you have created something that is immensely valuable for your entire family line through this healing. And so they want to return that, and they want to support you and help you. All right, next up, I have the Three of Wands, okay? You have these two young fae boys here. They're looking in this map book, right? They're starting out on a new adventure. They don't know what's ahead of them. They don't know, what are the possibilities. So they look at the map and they're like, okay, so where are we going from here? Where do we want to go from here, right? There's a certain amount of planning. You have something you want for yourself. You have a trajectory that you have set for yourself, this vision, right? You've looked at the map book and you said, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to experience for myself. But the thing is to remember about this is that it's the map, not the territory. And, you've definitely set your sights on and you're moving in that direction, but you haven't yet completely arrived in the new place. But what you have done is started to heal this Three of Swords energy, right? You know, when you think of the Three of Swords, we would see the heart with the three swords piercing through it. That is the pain of all pain, the catastrophe, the utter letdown, the heartbreak, the, you know, like, you think like this is the worst, most painful thing that you can experience. But when we're looking at this in reverse, it's a healing, right? You've taken out the sword, or you've taken out the swords. You know, what happens when you remove the swords from, you know, that heart when you're doing the healing work is you now have a sword. You have the Knight of Swords here, right? You have learned skills. You have focused and sharpened your mind, okay? So if we use like this sword for the example of maybe your self-talk or the kinds of talk that other people have given to you. For example, maybe you've grown up and somebody's given you continuous messages that have hurt your self-value, that have hurt your self-esteem, make you think that you're worthless, make you think that you don't have talent, make you think that, you know, negative, whatever the case being, right? Because you have come into this conscious relationship with yourself, with your ancestors, with this connection of, you know, like what it is that actually makes you who you are, and you realize the power that these words have had over you. Now, you know, you understand like that because, you know, Uncle Joe told you that, you know, you're no good 100 times, and that's what made you think that you're no good. And you're like, well, wait, if words have this kind of power over me, then I can take that same power and create something positive for myself. So you start giving yourself messages. I'm worthy, I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I have all these gifts, right? And you start creating a new reality, right? The words, the swords that somebody stuck in you, you pull it out and you realize you have the power to create your reality in the same way that other people have programmed you to experience a reality that you don't want for yourself anymore. And then we move into this Hanged Fae in reverse, the Hanged Man in reverse. You're no longer in suspension waiting to move into the next stage of your life. You're here, you've arrived, you are in this new stage, right? You have started out on the path. You've decided, okay, this is what I want. I finally let the old thing go. I finally do not buy into the old self-talk that tells me I'm worthless, that tells me I can't accomplish the thing. I know my value now. I know my worth. So you've made the decision. You've stepped out on the path, and there's no going backwards because you know now who you are. There's nobody who can tell you something negative about yourself and it even have any effect on you. It's like water off a duck's back because you know better now. And that brings you into the Priest, okay? The Priest is one of two Shaman cards in this deck, okay? Where we'd have the Priestess being the more feminine aspect and the Priest being the more masculine aspect, okay? So the Priest here is about embodiment. He's the Hierophant of this deck, okay? You have connected with, you know, the spiritual aspects of life. You have connected with the spiritual aspects of yourself, your ancestors, your family, and now you have the ability to embody that, right? Maybe there are gifts that run in your family. Maybe you have a lot of artists in your family, right? And, you know, you've probably grown up maybe doubting your own abilities, your own artistic skill, your own creativity, but you've come into this point to where, like, you're creating for yourself and you found some sort of a medium to where you're like, oh, I actually am kind of good at this. I have a natural knack for it, right? And that's because your family lineage, your ancestors are moving through you. Their talents that you thought that you didn't get to be part of run just as much through you as through any other member of your family that just happen to express themselves in a new way that is unique to you. And the thing about this, like, even if you don't think like that you're having this direct experience with your ancestors, that, you know, I haven't spoke to them, I haven't met them, you know, so on and so forth. Here's the thing, your nose, your grandmother's nose, your grandfather's nose sits right on your face, of course, unless you've had some sort of changes, right? The genetic traits, the qualities that you have within yourself, that's your ancestors living through you. whatever it is that made them have that natural artistic capacity, whatever makes them have that natural creative capacity, it is yours as well, right? You have that same DNA. You have all the blessings and the gifts. So, there's a possibility that you either are somebody who has consciously interacted with your ancestors, or you just get this understanding that by healing yourself, you are healing your ancestors. And because of that, they are working through you, right? You are part of the same family tree. That very tree gives, life to all its branches, and you're a branch on that tree, and you're just as much welcome to that blessing. All right, so you're embodying this blessing. You're embodying this power, this energy, this gift that you have, that you've discovered in yourself. And you're kind of starting to wonder, what can I do with this? You have the Seven of Cups here. The nymph here, she's daydreaming. She's gazing into her little bubble here, like her crystal ball, and she's imagining the possibilities, adventure, wealth, love, whatever, right? You now, because you understand you can create for yourself, you've decided, well, what do I want? And this is good. This is perfectly fine. Like, you could take a moment to daydream and really imagine the possibilities, but don't get hung up there, right? You see the things, you see the possibilities, pick something. And when you do that, what happens, you're in this emperor energy, right? Your self-sovereignty, your self-confidence, your self-awareness, your ability to balance your emotions, your actions, your energies, your thoughts, right? The emperor being that, all the kings, that, strong in yourself, that directed focus to create your reality. You pick the thing, and then you realize, okay, well, I need to do this. I need to make this happen. If I can get this connection, maybe this person has a skill that's useful for me, that's helpful for me to get to my goals. The Emperor's quite good at this organizing. You're very good now at organizing your thoughts, your emotions, your energies, your actions to create something for yourself. Right? And you've moved into the full energy, right? Because you have finally broken the chains of this old pattern. You're in something completely new. It's not even a new chapter in a book. It's a new book entirely. The old book's done. The final chapter is written. It's closed. You are in something new. But you have knowledge and skills and gifts that you can take with you, right? When we imagine the Fool in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you would see them. They've got the bag on the stick, right? The things that they've brought with them from their past life, whether it's baggage, gifts, knowledge, skills, right? Even though you're on this fresh start, it's not that you're a blank slate. It's that you are in a new territory, so to speak. But you do have your skills and gifts with you. Okay. Now, because you've done this healing, right? Maybe you've experienced anger in the past, maybe some sort of negative direction of your energies, but you've come into this strength, you've come into this peace, right? You've got this incredible power that is this dragon, this fire within you, this desire, this creativity, life, right? The very life force that, you've discovered. It's not that you have the life force, you realize you are that life force, okay? But this peace that you've developed has allowed this calmness, this, ability to, regulate your energies and your emotions and your thoughts and, actions in such a way to where this power doesn't just go off in any direction and cause havoc in your life, right? You've come to a healthy relationship with this inner power, with this fuel, with this energy. And this definitely, this power, like I said, this energy, this creativity, this is from your ancestors, right? You have the Fae here. She's sitting on this skull. All these mushrooms are growing from the decay of the body of the individual who lived here. Your life grows from those that have come before you, right? You stand on their shoulders. They're holding you up high so that way, you can thrive, so that way you can add value to the world, so you can add value to your own life to create something that you want. This crow energy, grow the knowledge, the skills, the training, these abilities that you've developed for yourself are in fact your gifts from your ancestors. All right, so next up I have the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, that's the the abundance, the prosperity, the generational wealth. Your ancestors want to give you this abundance, this wealth that you've never experienced before. Whether or not you grew up, having a family with money, or, nurturing care, or whatever the case being, your ancestors want to create this very blessed state for you, this very, abundant physical reality for you to live in. Whether you're, somebody who's like super big on money or not, you're going to have enough to where you can live your life the way that you want to. You're going to have enough to where you can share with others. You're going to have enough to where you don't have to, grind away, maybe working for somebody that, doesn't appreciate you just to scrape to get by. Your ancestors are helping you get to this state to where you have your own, independence through this wealth, through this blessings, through this abundance, right? And, you start kind of small. You start where you're at, right? We have this Six of Pentacles, right? The charity, the blessings, you have in the Rider-Waite-Smith, you would see this wealthy individual giving out coins to, other individuals who are not as wealthy, right? This wealth that's being given to you by your ancestors, in this case, being these little mice, this is your wealth. This is, think of it like an inheritance that you didn't know you had. And they're coming forward and saying, here, take this. This is yours. You've done so much for this family that you really are somebody who's worthy of holding this, of channeling this, because we know that you have a good heart. We know that you want to bless others. We know that you want to do good for others and that you're not going to abuse it. And so they give it to you, right? This, this hand up, not this hand out. So that way you can grow to create your reality. And this could be that energy, right, that I was talking about, that creativity, that artistic expression, because we have the Queen of Wands, all right? You have this manifestation power. The Queen of Wands is the Witch of the Tarot. She knows how to take the energies that come to her. She knows how to be open and receptive to it, and then to direct those energies to create her reality. So you have these new ideas, these new inspirations, this creativity that's coming up in you, and you're directing it, right? And because you are working with this energy, this inner light, you come to discover things about yourself, right? You're like, okay, well, if I have this creativity, this inspiration, where's it coming from? And you really start to pay attention to who you are, and you really kind of start to dive deep within, and you find the center, the source of this light, the source of the energy, the creativity, the blessings, right? So, this is fantastic. This is wonderful. You've gone within and to experience, the connection, to find your gifts, to find your blessings, but we need to stay balanced, okay? You have the Two of Pentacles, right? You would see the individual on the tightrope balancing the Two Pentacles. The thing is, you're kind of in between worlds right now. You have a foot in each world, like the priest here, this shamanic energy, right? The physical and the non-physical. The key here is that when you go within to find the blessings, that you bring them back out into the reality that you're living, into your life. You want to get into this Queen of Pentacles energy, right? She knows how to nurture. She's receptive, but she can create for herself. She's practical. She knows the right steps. She's grounded in her reality. So you have this balance of that inner world and the outer world, right? With the Two of Pentacles, and this brings you into this Queen of Pentacles, right? You have the life, the nurturing, the abundance, and you are able to bring that into a stable, consistent, reliable, foundation in your life. This is going to be how you're going to move forward, right? It's great to be able to have the inner experiences, but we need also translate those inner experiences into the outer, and the Queen of Pentacles is absolutely going to be the energy you want to get into to do that. Okay, and this Wheel of Fortune, right? So, you're grounding the energy in. You're creating a stable foundation for yourself, right? The Fae, she's sitting on top of this wheel. Regardless of the turning of the wheel, regardless of the turning of the cycle of the seasons, the zodiac, she stays stable and on top, right? When you develop this nurturing capacity, when you develop this solid, practical approach that allows you to nurture life, it allows you to nurture yourself, it allows you to nurture those that you love, and you have this stability. Regardless of whatever is going to be happening in your life, whatever seasons that you're going through, you're going to be able to stay on top. You're going to be able to stay balanced because you have this conscious relationship with yourself, with your family, with life, rather than just letting things kind of go as they will, rather than just, letting life kind of run you over. And the reason that this is important is because you need to have these clear boundaries. The Queen of Swords, she's a great friend, but she's also very clear about what is and is not okay. She knows how to draw the line in the sand and say, okay, you can have this much, but you can't have more than that, right? And we have this Seven of Swords, the things happening behind the scenes, right? Because you're pouring energy into something special and beautiful. Here's the thing, it does grow. What you're creating for yourself, what you're creating for your life is in fact growing, but other things grow from that energy too, right? You have the vines of this garden growing up, and you have this thorn who's, now cut her dress. She's not paying attention to it. So there may be, individuals who are seeing your growth, and they want to take advantage of that, whether that's physical or non-physical. You have something or somebody that wants your energy, that wants your time, that wants your attention. And this ability for you to ground back into the physical, to take the inner experiences and then bring them back out into the physical in a practical, solid way, is going to help you to avoid allowing others that don't belong in your energy to take from you, right? You have this nurturing capacity, but that nurturing capacity is only for those that you have that relationship with, who you feel like are healthy, that contribute to the value in your life, or those that need you. Maybe say, like, if you have children, right? That energy, this new abundance that you're creating for yourself, you're going to have to be able to draw the line in the sand, to create the boundaries, to protect that, so that way it doesn't get siphoned off from those who don't really need to be in that energy. And you are now in that King of Cups, that emotional balance, the ability to ride the ups and downs of life. All right, friends, I hope this reading has been helpful for you. If it has, go ahead and leave me a like. If you would drop a comment for me, it would mean the world to me. Just kind of let me know where you're going with your journey at this time. Maybe introduce yourself if you haven't. Don't know what to say? You can drop me something like, for the algorithm. You could do a sunflower emoji. Sunflower is a spirit guide of mine. That'll let me know you see me. And your comment will let the YouTube algorithm know that you want to see me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please go ahead and subscribe. Head in, find a video that resonates with you. If you don't find something that resonates with you, go into my community section. I've got a pinned post, that says you can ask me a question and I will make a tarot reading for you. All right, friend, I will see you in the next one.